it's a weird thing. It's almost like, I don't know if they call it the Peter Principle or something like that. Like to those who have everything, more will be given. To those who have nothing, everything will be taken. There's something in there of like, the more resources you invest into something, the more successful you can be. So if I had the money, I could get the multi-streaming output paid service, which would allow me to make more money in that regard. But first I got to start making the money otherwise
Yeah,
I mean, I could probably do it. If it's like $20 a month, maybe I should just do it. That's a little bit of chump change to get a better exposure. But that is a behind the scenes thing where I'm like, I'm not breaking even yet on this gig. And I accept that. And it takes as long as that's why I got a day job on the weekends, that kind of thing.
Ben, I understand. I said to my husband not long ago, I said, what I'd like to focus on is just having the interview experience and then someone else taking over everything else. It is so much work to have to edit and do your show notes and still promote your podcast. And that comes, all of that, a team comes when you can actually pay them. And how do you pay your team to help you with the work? So yeah, you kind of have to work towards getting monetized so that you can hand over some of these jobs to someone else.
For sure. And then there's for me, like there's two things there. One is, and this harkens back to something you're saying earlier, the idea of producing content. So in one sense, this is the ideal level of effort for me. And we talked about this beforehand. You were saying, so you just like click record and then post it, like basically, unless someone tells me not to, which is part of the ethical concerns I bring to everything. So this is very easy relatively. I have kind of an intro and outro music and graphic I put up just to make it more of a show. Didn't used to do that. Now I do. The professional quality improving, but really it's all one take and both of us are on the screen. And I've kind of dialed it into a very minimal thing. That said, there is some editing to do. Sometimes we take a break. Sometimes I cut things out because they're too personal. They're like, I don't always mention this in every episode, but if you talk to me, you get my, now my head's going. I wanted to say things about like more behind the scene process of, I've had some folks show up and they're very busy. Like you were talking about the doctors, and they're used to 45 minutes. We'll get the interview done and you'll cut it down to 15. I'm like, no, this is 4.5 hours. I mean, some people don't understand the likelihood of a analysis requiring a lengthy conversation, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're used to a different style of interview. I'm like, this is a whole dream interpretation. Usually clinically, these things take place over multiple hour-long sessions for weeks. And I'm kind of, I'm condensing it to say 4.5 hours. That's fast for a really good in-depth answer. So there's a bit of that, too. So I want people to know out there, like my process, I ask people to set aside a couple hours so we can talk before. I don't record until we agree that you understand the process and you get what's going here. And then I, announce we're starting a recording and I only release it with permission. So all these things take some time. So a couple hours. I like to let people know what to expect if they reach out to me is, hopefully you don't feel rushed. I don't want you to feel rushed. I'm in it for the marathon. And, but also as I've given some recent examples, I'll try to tighten it up if I can. I will definitely approach it differently, which I think is fun too in some ways of like, well, you give me a different slice of challenge. Like give me an answer in 45 minutes. Okay. That's a specific type of thing. I'll try. And then we do the best we can. But so I like that too, those challenging experiences. I'm rambling again. Go ahead.
Yes. So, what am I going ahead about?
Oh, I don't know. Just if you had any thoughts. But I didn't really ask you a question. I'm a terrible interviewer. So, I'm not actually an interviewer at all.
What's so funny, Ben, is that I edit my content and I'm a talker. I talk a lot. In the process of editing, I find myself removing only because my goal is always to keep things under an hour.
Sure.
And my goal is also not to talk. This is me though, not to talk more than my health expert, right? So a lot of times I cue them up. I have a question, but then I go on and on about my health or my family or something related to that. And then I ask the question. And so sometimes I go back and I say, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And I remove myself. But other than that, my goal is always to kind of help my health expert, because my health experts are not always necessarily used to being on podcasts. I
For
pull
sure.
them from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine because I see they're valuable, and I study them, right? That's how I know who I would like. I either meet them in one of the interest groups that I'm part of for that college, or I hear them speak somewhere, and I say they would be a perfect guest for the show, and then I focus on that. But when I'm interviewing, as I'm getting to know them, because I'm excited about the conversation, sometimes I do also ramble. I do talk, but it's because it might be the first conversation we've ever had, and usually there's some admiration behind that too, and a little bit of excitement. So it's okay.
For sure. Yeah. No, and that's I would hope part of my charm is I'm just this fumbly, bumbly, rambly type of guy who doesn't mean any harm, and hopefully occasionally says something you go, wow, that was pretty cool. I hope I have something interesting to say.